Oh my God, Ariel. So we started watching The Traitors.
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Okay.
New Zealand.
Has Jordan
And
ever watched it?
obsessed. No. And now he's obsessed. He's like, it's
I
so
know.
good. And I'm like, no, I told you that. You didn't
Yeah,
listen.
you're welcome.
You don't listen. You're welcome. I know he does. He really listens very well. No, but he didn't listen about this. But to be fair, like last time I tried to get him to watch it, it was like at the end of a season. And like it's very hard
Yeah.
to get into in the end of a season. So I was like, I really want to watch this new season because Ariel said it was really good.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I'll watch it with you. And we started it. And then now he's obsessed. Now he's just like us. He
Of
can't get
course.
enough. Yeah.
Stars,
We
they're
were like,
just like us.
stars, they're just like us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were watching it last night and like didn't want to turn it off. And it was like, no, we really had to go to bed. And
It's
then this morning, like,
addicting.
opened the laptop and it was still up on the laptop. And it was like, I want to watch right now. It's
I
so addicting.
know.
The characters on this show are so good. Like the New Zealand
New
cast
Zealand
is so
is
good.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I like it because they're like stars, but they're like New Zealand stars. So like we have no idea who they are. So it's like quite humbling. But also
Yeah.
there's this extra level of the fact that New Zealand is so small that all of them know each other. So like there's this extra level of like it's more like we're playing a game and I'm not gonna like
all of them
stab you in the
except for
back
like
and
two of
betray
them.
you. Well, there's all these like regular people too.
Right.
It's like half regular
Right.
people and half like New Zealand like Kiwi stars.
Yeah.
But I love the factor of like the traitors being old friends, and so they're not going to like
Yeah.
backstab each other in the same
Right.
way. Like there's more skin in the game.
Right. And these are people that have like somebody said like I've known this person for 20 years,
They
which is
introduced me
also
to my
fascinating.
wife.
Yes,
That's what he
exactly.
said. Yeah.
Exactly. Things like that where it's like these are people with real bonds, real relationships, and they really know each other. So it's like you have to play hard. Like you got to fool people if you're a traitor because like these are people who know you and they
Yeah, they're like
know if you're being weird. They know if you're being
right.
strange. Yeah.
I've known him for 20 years and I have never seen him this quiet or whatever it is. Like you
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. I'm obsessed. And
Right.
also their New Zealand cast is like so much more emotionally intelligent. I don't know if
Yeah.
you got to a certain part, but there's a part where like one of them like really bears their soul and everyone is like, "Actually, you know what? I believe you. Like you wouldn't have done that if."
We got there.
Yes. And I was
You're
like,
talking about
"No."
oh. Okay, then no.
Okay. I'm not going
Okay.
to say anything to you. Yeah.
Don't tell me.
They're just so emotionally intelligent. I die. I die. It's
You
amazing.
die. All right. Well, rest
Again,
in
watch
peace.
The Traitors.
Yeah, watch
R.I.P.
The
I'm
Traitors.
dead
It's
because I
so
got
good.
killed by a traitor.
I sent Ariel a clip of I think we watched that part like I was like again.
I know.
I think
The
we watched it, like,
editors are
15
amazing.
times. It
The
was
editor
so
is like
funny.
the quiet character. Yeah. You texted me and you
Yeah.
were like, that editing was amazing. And I woke up to this text and I was like,
What is she
what?
talking about?
And then like we moved on to another conversation in our text exchange.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but what did you mean about the editing? Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? And she was like, between so and so and so and so. And I was like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Who are
And
these
then
people?
finally you like the clip that you sent didn't come through. So then we got
It was
there,
weird
but
though
it took
because
a second.
it showed on my phone that I did send it through, but then it didn't show up on my computer. So I was like, oh, she must have not gotten the clip.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And I
the
was like,
editing was
okay.
really particularly amazing in that moment where like somebody called somebody else a genius and then it cut to that person being like an absolute doofus.
Yeah.
And it was just very funny. It was very endearing.
Oh my God. Yeah. That part, that whole thing is amazing.
Oh, so
All right,
good.
everybody. Welcome
All right.
to Wouldn't We Like to Know with Ariel
and Linda, the podcast where we get honest, deep, and curious about life's big conversations.
because we don't have to do it alone.
That's right.
This week on the podcast, we are talking about to be magnetic, which is
Ooh.
our manifestation platform of choice.
Mhm.
We share a lot about it and we've talked about it a lot before, but right now they're doing this unblocking challenge, which
Yeah.
basically you base it off of the biggest thing that you're manifesting in your life right now, and then they kind of help you synthesize down what's blocking me from
Mhm.
having that. So like what's this one core belief that you have that's blocking you?
Yeah.
And we're both kind of at different stages of it. You kind of started from the very, very beginning, and I kind of just jumped into the challenge, but we share some insights on what's come up for us already. And, we talk about manifestation a lot here, but then at the end of this episode, it's really like, it's more, maybe it's woo, maybe it's science based,
Yeah.
who the hell knows? But it really just helps to sit down and get some attention and intention into what we want and what might be getting in our way. And that
Yeah.
can shift things around.
And just being able to create the life that feels most right for you. Like the
Mm-hmm.
agency that you have to be able to make changes in your life. And TBM is like a beautiful way to do that. It's a beautiful
It's a
tool
really good, like,
to
yeah,
use. Yeah.
it's a great tool. It's like a really good facilitator for
Yeah.
questions and like ways that we may not have thought of to come around to a solution.
Yeah. We share this at the end of the episode as well, but we have a little link for TBM and you guys get a discount if you use it. So we'll link that both in the show notes and in our Instagram bio, which if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, it's at Wouldn't We Like to Know. We post videos on there about us chatting through the episodes. We'll post pictures from our weeks. So you can follow us on there if you want to follow along.
You can also subscribe to the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. And you can subscribe on YouTube where you can see our faces as we talk. And then last but not least, you can send us an email, wouldn't we like to know at gmail.com. Guest suggestions, topic suggestions, thoughts around an episode.
We welcome them all. Also, we haven't mentioned this in a while, but you can also leave us a review on Apple
Oh,
Podcasts or
yeah.
on
Leave us a
Spotify.
review.
Leave us a
Yeah.
little review. On Spotify, you can just give us a little star rating. There's no words needed at all. So it's
Mm-hmm.
super, super easy. It'll take you 4 seconds and it helps us a lot because it helps people discover our podcast. And then on Apple Podcasts, you can either leave just stars or a little review saying, wow, they're good. We like them.
Wow. These two ladies love the traders.
Yeah, they do.
Cool. Great.
Okay,
Wonderful.
great, great, right,
All
great.
right, everybody. Enjoy this one.
Bye. Guess what I've been doing? And I'm curious
What?
if you've been doing it too. Well, TBM has a new challenge.
I started
And
yesterday.
you started yesterday, the unblocking challenge.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do
Have you
you, how
done
far?
today's yet?
So I just started yesterday. I did like the pre-week yesterday and
In a
found out
day?
what my block was. And
Mm.
then my next thing is like the fight or flight DI.
Yeah, right.
So that's where
Because
I
it's
am.
about like
I need
grounding
to do
your
that.
nervous system.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'll do that today.
That's amazing. That's exciting.
Where are you?
Um, I so the challenge sounded exciting to me, and like the idea of doing TBM on a consistent basis sounded exciting to me. But so I asked Jordan to be my accountability buddy. So he signed up for TBM yesterday.
Oh
He
my
was like, "Okay, I need
gosh.
to think about it. Like, let me," which like as he totally should. Like, don't commit to something with this big of a commitment without thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought about it for a couple days, and then on Sunday he was like, "I think I want to do it." So I was super excited about that. So he signed up yesterday, and we have been like, we created a new morning routine for us so we can build it into our mornings together.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been like getting up, going for a little walk to like fully wake up because I noticed like I don't know if you're the same way, but like if I try to do TBM first thing in the morning without like having fully woken up during a DI especially, I'll just fall like directly back asleep.
Mm.
So like get out for a little walk and then do TPM for 30 minutes. And that's like the container we've created. So if it takes, less time than that, we have a little bit of extra time to journal or something like that. Or if it's going to take more time than that, we'll just stop at 30 minutes and come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been good. But I noticed like the last time I was really doing the work was last September. And then I had like a little stint in February when I was starting to do it again. But I haven't done it like fully in quite a while. So I was like, oh, maybe I should go back through, because to find your block, you need to find like what it is that you're like, what's the one thing that you're really manifesting at the moment. And then before that, like finding your authentic code. So, like, there's a whole series. I know you know this, but like for our listeners. So I was like, okay, maybe I just want to go back through and like connect with my authentic self so I can connect with what I really want to be calling in at the moment. So yesterday I did the authentic code DI, and then today I was going through like my old journals and looking at my past lists and then starting to cast my list for this one. And then after that I'll go through and find my block for the big thing that I'm manifesting, and then I'll actually jump into the like full challenge is kind of the idea. But he's doing it from the start. Like he's never really done TBM before. So I recommended he go through like the how to manifest workshop first before trying to
Mm-hmm.
go through and doing the unblocking challenge, because that just feels like a big thing to jump into if you don't know what tests are and you don't know what triggers are within like the TBM container and all of that. So, yeah, it's been exciting to
Yeah.
like do
Well,
it
it's so
together, and it feels
cool.
good.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool that not only is he going to be your accountability buddy, but also like he's going to learn about all these things that we
Yeah.
talk about all the time that he was
Yeah.
probably like, uh-huh, but didn't
Yeah.
quite know what we were talking about.
Totally. And it feels so
That's
exciting
exciting.
too that I had this ping of like, this is something that I fully want to do. This is something that is in the past like changed my life. And then to be able to share it with somebody who I'm so close to and hears
Mm-hmm.
about so much of my life. So to be able to explain what I'm experiencing going through a challenge like this and somebody's doing it with you feels like really, yeah, that feels really exciting and connecting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really, really psyched to be doing it generally just for myself, but then also to get to do it with him is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Like gives you
And it
greater insight into each other.
totally, yeah. And also just having accountability, especially like waking up in the morning and being like, okay, we're doing this. We've both committed to this. It makes it feel, I mean, it's only been 2 days, but like it's already feeling like my mornings feel different because I'm spending time on myself first thing in the morning and making sure that I'm connected to myself before I connect to anything else. And normally, like, I think I would have even harder time doing that because there's not someone else like right there encouraging me to like, okay, like now it's time to do TBM. And like part of
Mm-hmm.
me also like I take such I was noticing this about myself just with doing the challenge with him too, of like wanting to feeling anxiety about wanting to manage his experience and wanting to make sure that he has a
Mm.
really good experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday when I was dropping into a DI, it was like a 30-minute DI. It was like 28 minutes and we had 30 minutes set aside to do this. So I wasn't going to be there to be able to like answer any questions or like explain things to him. And I just noticed in myself, I was like, I was having a really hard time dropping into the DI because I was like, I want to make sure that he's understanding everything and he's okay. And then I was like, no, he has made this commitment on his own, apart from me, and he will figure this out just like I did. And like, I can help
Mm-hmm.
him and like answer any questions after I do my DI. But I noticed that like
Yeah.
wanting to manage and make sure he has a good experience because I care about him and I really care about this work and I want him to connect to the work the same way that I have. And like
Mm-hmm.
wanting to control that, like wanting to curate that for him, you know. I found that
Yeah.
very interesting about myself noticing that.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
little baby bit of codependency coming forward.
Totally. Yeah.
Even though like obviously that comes from a good place, like
Right.
it's not like all codependency is from a bad place, but yeah,
Yeah.
comes from a good place. I understand that impulse where you're like, I love this thing so much, I want you to have a similar
Yeah.
experience. But like
Yeah.
it's all written out for him, like
Right.
he's going to learn it the same way that you did, and maybe he'll have different insights into it than you do or I do.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm so curious to see how it goes for him
Yeah.
and what
Me
he
too.
thinks of it all.
Me too. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
Did anything new come up for you, like in your authentic code, or like anything surprising with your list or anything?
No, it all felt actually super connected because I think I already mentioned this, but like back in February, I like kind of dipped my toe back into the work. And
Mm-hmm.
I had like cast a new list and done the authentic code workshop again and actually did it like super, super thoroughly. So when I did my list, for those of you who don't really know TBM, like basically when you're manifesting, you're basically like writing out all the things that you want to manifest and making sure that they connect authentically with who you are and not with your ego. So you want to do the authentic code first and then cast your list. And when I had put my list together, I even wrote like for each of the like details of what I wanted to manifest, I wrote the qualities that are important to me and my authentic self next to each of those details, and then I wrote out a sentence about like why this was connecting with my authentic self and what like feeling and quality about this would connect with my authentic self. So I did it super thoroughly, and I have that
Mm.
note in my Notion. And I hadn't realized that I had cast the list in February until I had started doing my list today. And so I had
Mm-hmm.
started with my two major manifestations and written those out. And then I was thinking, I wonder what I wanted to do last time. And so I went through and thinking I would find my list from September, but then found the list from February. And the first two things on the February list were exactly the same as what I had written down today. And
Mm.
not only that, but like all the details were the same. So, like, one of the things is like an apartment with big windows and trees outside the windows and lots of light. And like all of those qualities were exactly the same on the list that I wrote today
Mm-hmm.
as they were in February. And so that kind of felt pretty cool because it's like, oh, this is something that is like really deep inside of me. And like without having to recall that I'd already written this down, it just naturally came out of me in the same way. But then like
Mm-hmm.
certain things have shifted on the list. Like I really want space to be able to do Pilates and to be able to like have work that's not inside my bedroom and to be able to do my self tapes and have that set up. So like to have a separate space for that. And I hadn't written that down on my past list. So it
Mm-hmm.
was curious noticing how there were similarities, but there were also like evolutions and like different things that I've discovered about myself that are actually really important to me
Mm-hmm.
and having that written down. But it was curious like how the first two things that I wrote down were the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly
Yeah, that's
things that
got
I
to say
really want.
something. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't have enough time to like dig down and just like let myself dream a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
let new things come up. Like I had just done those two major things and then we hit 30 minutes. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll be work
Well,
for tomorrow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the good thing about the unblocking challenge is really that like you just need one big manifestation
Yeah.
that you want to work with, and
Yeah.
I think that you're just kind of referencing the manifestation. I don't think that that's like a
Mm.
huge factor in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't written a list in a while. I guess I wrote one in like December, January when I was doing that challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had one that really came forward yesterday, and so I'm just like going off
Yeah.
of that, and it's one that's more
A
of
block.
like, what do you say?
A block.
A manifestation.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so the manifestation, and it's been on my list for a while, but the manifestation that came forward yesterday was more about like a feeling that I want to bring into my life and like have more of in my life. Yeah. I mean, my manifestation is I want more ease in my life. And that covers so many bases. But that came forward and I was like, yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
And then, finding the block that I want to hear how that goes for you. Because for me, maybe it was clearer because I just come back from this 10-day road trip with myself and I felt already kind of like tapped into this is the thing that I need or this is the thing that I want to overcome or work on or whatever. And so, my block came up pretty easily, but it surprised me a little because it was a thing that I thought I had already worked through in so many ways. But mine was, should I just get my notebook? It's fine.
Yeah, get your notebook. Yes.
Okay. So for the pre-week of the challenge, they ask you to write out what your biggest manifestation is. And I said the biggest thing that I'm manifesting in my life right now is ease. And then there were questions around like tests that were coming up for you that like tested that. So like what's testing this like sense of ease that I want to have? And I wrote down all of these things and then it asks you to write out any patterns that you see among those tests. And so the patterns were, the big pattern that I wrote down was inability to hold boundaries around my self-care. They wanted you to write down the fear that was behind that pattern. And so I just kind of like jotted things down and then finally I came to it. If I succeed, I'll be alone was the fear. And then the block that I came up with. So like the big thing that I'm going to be working with in this challenge is I need to stay small to be loved, which was so interesting to me because I feel like I have worked on that so much in so many other areas of my life where like I don't think that I'm staying small, like I speak up for myself, I do this, I do that. But it felt really centered. It felt really poignant to all of the things that I'd written down. And then they asked you to write down how that block relates to your manifestation. And I said, I'm fighting so hard to stay small and palatable. And there's no ease in that. Like there's no ease in fighting to stay a certain way when like my authentic code, myself, my inner being knows that I both deserve and like need to push through that. To push through these ideas of like staying small to not rock the boat or to make other people feel comfortable. So that was part of what I did yesterday.
Yeah. Wow, that feels really enlightening and like yeah, that feels very like peeling back quite a few onion layers into like what's going on inside of you.
Yeah. And like realizing that a thing that was there is still there, but maybe in a different way.
Yeah. And like you are a person that I look at and think you know how to speak up for yourself, you know how to like allow yourself to be seen, allow your authentic self to come through. But just because you have grown in that thing, like maybe it's morphed a little bit and like there's still more work to be done there. Like you have come so far from where you were in those things, but there's still like more in a different way to explore.
Yeah. And I recognize how much I worry that other people in my life, and not everyone, I think maybe a factor is like I have moved and I'm surrounded by a different group of people now.
Yeah.
And they're all great people. And I'm not blaming anyone for anything. It's more me maybe getting to know this group of people more and like trusting that if I do these things that I know I need to do to take care of myself, that they will stick around. And if they don't, then they don't. And that's kind
Right.
of you know, that's the truth of it. But I think
Yeah.
that there's a little bit of fear, maybe more so than if I were like around my lifelong friends, you know?
Right. Right.
So I recognize that as a factor, but also, yeah, I mean, even around people that I've known for a really long time, I feel the tendency to continue doing the things that I was doing. I mean, honestly, one of the really big things that comes up for me is, and I'm like scared to say it because I'm like, oh, well, what if I do this again? And I will, but
Mm.
is around drinking. Like I enjoy having a glass of wine. I enjoy like the ceremony and like the ritual of drinking with friends and whatever. And I by no means think that I have a problem. I don't drink a lot, but I think at this point, I'm like, it is not serving me. It's
Mm.
not serving me. And I don't feel good the next day, even if I've had one or two drinks. I don't feel good. And also, I end up feeling like depressed. And like,
Mm.
where is the ease
Yeah.
in that? And like,
Mm.
why do what's the pull to continue doing it? What's the pull for me to keep doing it if like I also rationally know that it's not doing anything for me? And if
Right.
anything, it's like holding me back from doing these other things that I want to be doing because like it and like I don't drink often. That's I feel like that's another weird part of this and like a hard part to like deal with is that I don't have an issue with it in terms of like drinking often. I probably drink maybe once a week.
Mm.
And even when I do, I don't drink a lot, but I think that maybe that's part of the rationalization of why I'm continuing to do it is because I'm not doing it a lot. But like I realize like the connection that it feels like it brings, even though it like doesn't always. It's just like a conduit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's one of many things that I think of, but that's one thing that I feel like I can say out loud that I'm like, this is
Yeah.
getting in my way and like what's keeping me from stopping or like
Mm.
saying no, you know?
Yeah, well, it does sound like there's like a bit of a like push and pull inside of you of like, oh, this is something I enjoy, but also this is not necessarily something that fits with the full picture of what I want to feel
Mhm.
in terms of the ease and like not feeling good the next day and all of that. So like then what but there is like some enticing quality for you because you enjoy like I especially think of you like enjoying wine and like enjoying learning about wine
Mhm.
and all of that. So that I found that interesting. Like what is that? There is a like a way that it is serving you. There's like a
Mhm.
enticing quality to it. Like you're
Yeah.
asking like why do I keep doing this?
Yeah.
What yeah. I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
What
And
is that pull?
I don't know the answer and
Yeah.
like probably it just felt more acute yesterday because I'd gotten back from this 10-day long road trip where I saw a
Yeah.
bunch of people and like every time I would have like a glass of wine or this or that. And so it was
Yeah.
just like more than I was used to. And so maybe it just felt
Mm.
more like immediate. But that's just one of many aspects of self care stuff that I'm like, when I'm around certain people, I feel like I can't do these things that I say that I want to do, or these things
Mm.
that feel like they are a big part of self care. And what is that about? Like, why do I feel like I can't do those things to take care of myself? Whereas in
Right.
so many other areas of my life, I'm so good at saying no and so good at like saying this is what I'm doing now. And
Yeah.
I guess I'll figure it out over the course of the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. What you said too about like being in a new environment with new people and like people that you haven't known for a long period of time. And there is like a sense of when you know someone for a long time, there's a sense of trust that builds up of like, oh, I can say no to this person and they still stick around. And like, I can say no to this person and they respect it. And you don't have that with new people. And then that can feel scary too, of like feeling like, what if they leave? And then what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a fear around that that you mentioned. Like, that feels
Mm-hmm.
like that makes so much sense to me. Like, you're in a
Mm-hmm.
new place and that's a huge adjustment and you've met people and it does make like it does add a whole new layer of like you've learned how
Mm-hmm.
to do these things with people that have been in your life for a long time and you've built that trust up with them. But now there's this whole new group of people and like can you do that again with these people?
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And then yeah, again, that's like only one portion of this block. I recognize that part of it is like I don't want to seem self-obsessed. I don't want to seem vain. I don't want to seem like all of these shadow words that come up that I'm afraid that I'll be labeled if I really put a boundary around my self-care stuff, or like she's so woo, or she's so whatever the word is. Even like I just recognize all of these like background voices in my head, and honestly like voices in my life from people that I can pinpoint,
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh, they will feel this way about me if I
Mhm.
do this thing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, damn, that's that sucks that that is like what I'm basing this on. That sucks that it's not like this is important enough for me that I don't care about that, or like that that's drowned out because this is important to me.
Yeah. Like
But
their
yeah, I just
opinion
like
takes precedence over your self-care. Their potential opinion
yeah.
takes precedence over you actually having your needs met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then feeling the need to like defend myself if that were to come up, and it's
Mhm.
like that's I don't know, none of
Do
those
you
things are about ease or like include
Yeah.
ease.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you have arguments in your head with people about things they haven't said to you yet, but you're worried about what they'll say to you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I feel like I do that all the
Yeah.
time. Like, when you say this to me, this is what I'm gonna say.
I'll be ready.
I'm
Locked
so
and
ready. I've got
loaded.
so many arguments. I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, stand up
Well,
to
and
them.
then like normally I'm just like, actually, fuck it. Like the best thing for me to do is not react.
Yeah.
That's usually what
Yeah.
happens. And then I'm like, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Even though like I want to rip someone a new one, I'm like, that's going to feel bad for me later.
Yeah. I used to do this a lot with like a few years ago. There was a situation I was in where I felt so much anxiety around seeing this specific person and they had done something that was really wrong and I was affected by that indirectly. And I no longer saw this person, but I was so worried about running into them. And I was like constantly thinking about in my head, like, this is what I'm going to say to them if I see them, or like, this is what I'm not going to say. Like, this is how I constantly like role playing in my head of like how I was going to react, even if it
Yeah.
was like a non reaction, but just constantly thinking about it. And I was talking to my therapist about it a lot. And she was like, you're trying to convince someone, especially in like the arguing and like the like ripping them a new one, like you're trying to argue for your worth instead of just being in your worth. Like you're trying to convince that person in your argument in your head that you are worthy and that you're worthy of being seen, that you are worthy of like being treated properly instead of just knowing that. You are trying to
Mm-hmm.
convince someone else of that. but you're not actually convincing anybody because you're not talking to anyone because you're having these conversations in your head. And that, like, every time that desire to have that argument in my head or to role play or to like prepare myself would come up, I would remind myself, like, okay, this actually doesn't matter. This person is not here. This situation is not actually even happening, and I am worthy of all the things I'm arguing for. I don't
Mhm.
need to argue for them. I just inherently
Yeah.
am. I don't need to convince anyone that I am. And like that repetition for me allowed me to get out of like having those arguments with this specific person. I still have it, like, obviously with other people because like we all do that, but that really helped me of like just like continuously coming back to that and like creating a new pathway in my mind of like, instead of arguing for this thing, I'm just going to talk to myself and remind myself that I am just worthy as I am. I don't need to convince
Mhm.
someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And it's like it's one of those things that like when someone says it to you, you're like, "Oh, yeah." But sometimes coming to it on your own is
Mm.
hard.
Mhm.
And that also
I
makes
mean,
me think of like how many times has worrying helped us? You know what I mean? Like how
mm,
many times have like us stewing over something over and over and over and over and over and mentally preparing for it?
yeah.
How many times has that like actually helped us?
Yeah. Well, one of the things in TBM is like the best case scenario, DI.
Mhm.
And I had
Mm.
done that. I was going back and reading through my journal today, and I had done that. I must have done it once, but like it clearly really stuck with me because over the course of like a few weeks, I was writing about what if this happens? What if this happens in a
Mm.
positive way? And it's like we constantly worry about the worst case scenario, but we don't worry about the best case scenario and
Yeah.
not connecting with the best case scenario. Like, what if I do this and the best thing that could happen happens? Like
Mhm.
we don't even worry about missing out on that because we're too worried about like preparing for the worst thing that could happen.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
what if we
that's so
shifted it?
real.
Yeah. Like, what if you could have all of your needs met and you could have people in your life that saw that and respected that and that was expansive to them and that was exciting to them versus them
Mhm.
judging that.
Yeah.
And like, even if there is a reality of some people judging it, like, what if those people just don't matter?
Yeah. Those people are going through their own thing.
Yeah.
They have their own stuff to work through that I can't really do anything about.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's always a thing that I come back to with TBM when I'm doing it is like this is for my good, but it's also for the good of everyone around me because I am showing up fully and honestly and that is good for everyone around me because they'll get not only get the best version of me, but they are also going to like it maybe it will rub off. Maybe they'll be like, "Oh, she did this thing, now I can do this thing." Or like she's
Yeah.
doing this thing that she really wants to do and I want to do this totally different thing and like that maybe that's a thing that I want to do now. And
Totally.
that sounds like so lofty and like whatever, like huge goals of let me inspire others with what I'm doing. But I honestly think about that because there have been times where other people are doing exactly what the fuck they want to do. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to do that. And
Well,
then it
this
like
is
starts to create the action.
yeah, well, this is a small example of that, and I've told you this before, but like the way that when you even came to visit me, what was that, in February? March? When you
January.
came to New York in oh my gosh, okay, yeah, January. So you came in January and there was a day when you were like, I just want to sit on the couch. I don't want to do anything. And
Mm-hmm.
you're so good at that. And I have such a hard time with that. And that is so expansive to me. Hearing you
mm-hmm.
say, like, I need to sit on the couch today, I want to just watch TV is so expansive to me because it gives me
Mm.
permission of like, oh yeah, I can do that. And when my mom was in town recently, we were out and about, and normally I would just be like, I feel grumpy. I want to go home. I want to like take care of myself. I want to do these things. And I would just ignore it because I'm like, no, because we have to do all these things. And while she was here, I was like, there was one afternoon and I was like, I want to go home and just like sit down.
Mhm.
And like seeing you make that decision gave me the permission to do that in my life.
That's
So like,
nice.
yeah,
Thank
well,
you.
it's true. Like you expanded me in that way by taking care of
Mm.
yourself and by voicing your needs. And like
Mm.
the people that judge you, who cares? Like
Mhm.
you are making a positive impact in the world by listening to yourself and by prioritizing yourself. And like if people don't like that, that's their own thing to deal with. That's none of your business. And like there
Mhm.
are people that will see you doing that and feel permission to do that for themselves.
Mhm. Yeah, that's kind of the overriding thing that I keep thinking about. Sometimes I have to like
Yeah.
trick myself into doing something because I know that it would be like good for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though like I wish that knowing that it was good for me was enough for me to do it. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that like having that extra push of like, this is good for other people too, like there's a bit of permission in that,
Yeah.
even if that seems kind of backwards. That's helpful to me.
Yeah. That's okay if it's backwards, if it's helpful.
Yeah, it's true.
Let it be helpful.
Yeah.
Speaking of blocks, I'm just like very curious to know what's down there for me too.
Mm.
Like trying
I know.
to
I know. I want to know
uncover
what's,
that. Because
I
it is
want to know.
curious, like the apartment thing, especially, that's been on my list for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the apartment I'm in right now is a bridge, but
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely a bridge. It was something that came through. But sometimes I worry that it was a test that I didn't pass.
Mm.
And there was actually something better. And I like panicked and took something because I was so worried about being homeless, which is a fair worry. And it
Yeah.
was a real worry at that point. Yeah.
What makes you
But
scared that it was a test?
I think it's come more into focus for me what it is that I actually want versus what I thought that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Like it's evolved. One of the things is like I wanted roommates who I could like go out and party with. And that's not me.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
And
That's
I,
interesting. That was a thing
yeah,
that you had was like, I want
yeah, to
roommates to go party with.
like to go out with. Like not necessarily even to party with, but like to go out with and like go to a bar. And like that was something that I used to do a bit. And it was like a way to meet people, a way to like meet people that I wanted to date. But I even remember telling one of my friends, like, I'm not going to meet my person at a bar. I know that. I know that like deep within myself. I know that. So I don't know why I keep doing this. And it was kind of a similar thing where it's like, I keep doing this and then not feeling good, but I keep doing
Mm.
it. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm in a relationship. And so I don't really do that anymore because like the reason I was doing it, I don't have that reason anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
haven't missed it at all.
Yeah.
And like I even have gone out with my roommates like once or twice. And like immediately after being out, I was like, I don't want to be here. And I
Mm.
left and I went home.
Yeah.
And so that's like a curious thing of like, okay, this is something that I wanted. But did I really want that? Was I really connecting with myself? Or was I just like thinking that this was what I don't know. Part of me is like, well, I lived by myself for 5 years, so I think part of me, like, just wanted to have that experience and what that would feel like, and even my first roommate, my only roommate in New York before living in this apartment, she was a lot older than me. She was, like, in her late 20s when I was in my early 20s,
Mm.
and we, like, never went out together because we were just in different, like, stages of our lives, and, I mean, sometimes we would, like, hang out, the 2 of us, but we, like, wouldn't go to bars and, like, to meet people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think part of me just wanted to have that experience to see what that would be like to have that. And then as soon as I
Yeah.
had it, I was like, I don't want this.
Well, even that is expansive because it sounds like at the time you were like, I want to connect with roommates and I want people around and I
Yeah.
want to it sounded like the core thing was I want community that I can like go out and meet people with because that
Yeah.
would feel like safe to do with other people. And then
Yeah.
also the other core was like I'm looking to meet a partner.
Right.
And like those were two like core things and maybe they like presented themselves more out of your ego when it came to like I want to go out to bars and party even though like that's
Yeah.
not really what your authentic self wanted, but also there's like a certain amount of figuring that out. Like you
Yeah.
went out and you figured it out. But it
True.
also like got you into the neighborhood that you want to live in.
100%. Yeah.
And like you walk out your door and you're there. You know,
It's
like
the
that's
best.
really special. When I was there and I was
Yeah.
visiting and I slept there the one night by myself before I saw you. And then I like walked out the door that night and like took myself to jazz and like took myself to dinner. And I was like, everything is right here. This is
Yeah.
so dreamy. Like you really did it. You did it and you
Yeah.
lived there.
Yeah.
So
That makes me want to
yeah, I don't
cry.
know. Oh, good. Cry.
It's true. Good.
But it's true. And I think like maybe I think that you have the tendency to be very hard on yourself, which you know.
Yeah.
But I want to say, like, I think that this is a huge bridge. It got you where you wanted to go. You have the experience now of living with roommates. Like you've met your person and now your wants are different and that happens. But
Right.
like think of where you like who would have thought that you'd be living where you're living right now? That's
True.
huge.
True. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. I think I am very hard on myself and I'm like, and I don't think that I should ever need a bridge. I just feel like I
Yeah.
should be able to jump directly to the thing that I want.
And that's an
Yeah.
interesting thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And
You're
like
like,
right now
I
I'm in a
should be
bridge
doing
job and a bridge
mm,
apartment and I'm like, I didn't pass tests because I should have the perfect thing. And that's
right.
just not reality.
I didn't
Yeah.
manifest well enough. I didn't follow the
Right.
formula exactly. And so it's my fault. And yeah, I shouldn't
No,
have to have a bridge. Like a
these
bridge
are
is only for
literally
people
thoughts I
that like
have.
aren't good at manifestation.
Well, I'm like, I didn't unblock enough. I didn't do the process enough. I didn't like go deep enough. I wasn't honest enough with myself. Like, yeah, that is how I feel. Those are thoughts that I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like it is true. Like and it's interesting now like reconnecting with okay, what is it that I want now and like what are the desires that I have now? And part of that is like feeling like I have a little bit more space and a little bit more personal space and like alone time and an environment that feels really curated to what feels good to me aesthetically and energetically. And some of that is what I had in my last apartment. And so it's interesting, like seeing how I've like moved. I it's interesting seeing how I'm like my past self is kind of expanding me now too. And seeing that like I had these things already and I want to reincorporate those qualities back into my life.
Yeah.
And it's like a merging of what I have now and what I had is kind of what I want.
Yeah. That's really
And
cool.
that feels exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you'd been in that apartment by yourself since the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, of course you want to try something different, shake
Right.
things up. Like that's what this
Yeah.
feels like. And also it like took you a huge step forward.
Yeah. It did. It really did. Yeah. Yeah. I feel really excited looking at my manifestation list and like going back through old journals and seeing all the things that I wanted that I now have. And then being like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm making a new list and all of these things I want and I will have. And
Yep.
that feels thrilling. That feels so exciting. Just knowing like
Yeah.
this isn't just like a wish list. These are like things I will have.
Mm.
That's
Mhm.
amazing. Like if they're
Yeah.
authentic to me, they'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll happen when they're meant to happen.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Hell
yes.
yeah. Well, even yesterday, like when I did, I just think like sitting down and getting real with yourself, no matter what,
Yeah.
even if it's stressful, even if it's easy, whatever it is. Like the rest of my day yesterday was lovely. Like I was, because I had it in my mind, like
Right.
ease, ease, ease. So like Jeff had off. So we went to go see a movie, and then we came home and I like did a little bit of I did a little bit of unpacking and whatever from my trip. But then we like sat outside on our front porch and like read our books. And then we like hung out last night, and I was like having it in my mind, ease, ease, ease. And I think that that's really what this does. Like,
Yeah.
who the hell knows about the science behind this? Who the hell
Yeah.
knows about the woo? Who knows? But I really think that like the core of this is, what do I actually want and how do I give myself more of that? And then the
Yeah.
rest will like work itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Like, who knows about the spirituality, but like, it does freaking work. It really does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. If
It
nothing
is
else, because
wild.
it's like putting your attention
Yeah.
on a different thing, or putting your
And being
attention
intentional about it.
all. Mm-hmm. So if you want to join us in the TBM to be magnetic challenge, we'll put it in the show notes, and it will also be in the link in our bio in our Instagram.
And I think there's a
Cool.
little discount for you guys also.
Yeah. Great. All right,
Yeah.
everybody. We'll talk to your ears soon.
See you soon. Bye.